hello everyone, this is Mr. Rob Ronan here again, and today we are going to go over a little bit of an OKI guide for Testament. Because a lot of people know how to go for simple OKI like Grave Reaper into a Meaty Crow, because then, you set up your stain state, you get to go for some good stain state combos. But doing stuff that is, repetitive and predictable will never be as good as something that's unpredictable and keeps your opponent on their toes. And although this OKI option is really good, Testament does actually have quite a few other options in their arsenal that I think you should include into your gameplay. So we're going to go from the most common OKI options to maybe the least common, that you probably see the least. So the most common, obviously, we're going to start with Grave Reaper into a Meaty Crow. It's the most default, it's the easiest, it's kind of like the normal one, and it's normal for a reason, it's good. So after you get any kind of 2k 2D, people go into an S Grave Reaper. You don't charge it at all, you just do it so you get both of the hits, it does good damage, and you get to go for a Meaty Crow. Even if Soul is jumping here, he can't jump out of the crow as long as you time it early enough, and you don't accidentally hold it down. There we go. So you get your stain state, and if you're close enough to the opponent, or depending if you're close enough to the corner, you can also go for a Meaty, or not Meaty, but a guaranteed Arbiter sign. So you can go for overhead low mix-ups, or if you aren't as close, you can do a little bit of a dash up, and it becomes less guaranteed, but you do have to do a little bit of a dash, but then you still get a little bit of an overhead low mix-up. So this option, it's the default, it leads to guaranteed stain. It pushes the opponent full screen, so if you do want to be full screen, then this is good for that. And it does the most damage. So that's our default option. The next option is going for a charged S Grave Reaper, and particularly a charged S Grave Reaper after 2k 2D when you get the OTG. So this has a pretty different result. As you can see, when you do this, it OTGs the opponent, and then the second hit of the projectile hits afterwards, and the succubus gets placed behind them. So all of these things together lead to a bunch of options you can go for afterwards. The first one is you can just teleport, and you will teleport behind them or in front of them in a pretty unpredictable manner. Especially if they try to go for a DP or something, it will go in the wrong direction. As you can see, I teleport behind him because he's invincible, and it kind of changes where the hurt boxes are. So you can get easy DP punishes. And you are also plus, so even if the opponent is not going for a DP, you can actually, if you're fast enough, you can actually just combo and continue it. So that whole 2k 2D sequence, just from a 2k 2D, did half of the opponent's life, maybe because they tried to mash, and if they did try to DP, well, my 2k would have whiffed, and then I get to dash up and go for a big old close slash combo. And you get to just do a regular combo, or you can just bait it and go for whatever combo you like that. Pretty powerful stuff. So now your other option off of an OTG is to go for your Crow. And this Crow will actually be more guaranteed than the regular OTG Grave Reaper, because as you can see, on hit, it even combos into the Crow, and on block, they are forced to block it as well, of course. And even if the opponent DPs, it does actually hit them, depending on if you do it fast enough. As you can see, I can hit Soul there, and because Soul's actually in the air with his DP, I can actually do this. And do this kind of evil stuff. And then we're in the corner, and he's dying. So that's another really powerful option, and a more guaranteed way of setting up your Crow, and it sets you up with a few more plus frames, and yeah, it's pretty good. So if the opponent's maybe trying to DP because you're going to teleport in, or do another option that we're going to talk about, then going for the Crow is a really, really good way of covering every option. If the opponent gets hit, they combos into the Crow. If they block, it gets them into stain state, and if they DP, you get to hit them with the Crow and then combo from the stain state into your Arbiter sign and do some lovely stuff like that. Now, also, there's other options you can go for from the OTG. The other one, which is why the opponent might be air dash, might be going for a DP, is you can instant air dash. And okay, it's actually working better here, but sometimes, depending on the opponent's DP, how big the hitbox is, like there, the TP can actually hit your air dash, and yeah, with some characters it's more consistent than others. So that might be a reason that they're DPing, but if they don't DP, this is a really, really good option, because if they're trying to do anything like jumping or mashing buttons, obviously they're going to get hit by the meaty projectile that hits them. You can also combo into your classic stuff from your jump H. Then you also get, jump H. This isn't a mix-up guide for Testament, but if they do block it, then jump H, you have the mix-up of going into Dust or into a 2S, or if you're close enough, a 2K, if they block it. And yeah, that's just a really good way. If you're in a matchup where you don't really want to be full screen and zoning the opponent out the full time, or you're throwing, out the crow or pushing the opponent full screen again, you want to stay close, this is a really good way of staying on top of them, staying plus, applying overhead low pressure, double overheads, instant air dashes. It's just a really good option. And the only thing it really loses to is sometimes it can lose to like a DP, but then all the other options off of this OTG beat DPs, so it will make your opponent a little bit wary. Whether you go for the crow or for the teleport, those both beat DPs. So yeah, you should have a good chance of not getting DP'd if the opponent is not an absolute psycho. And the last one is just because you're so plus, if the opponent blocks it, you really can just, let me make him do nothing. If the opponent blocks it, you really can just dash up and press buttons. He's not blocking at all. Gone after first hit. So you can up and crouch. So you can go for your 2S, 2H kind of pressure when you dash in, because the opponent will be stuck in block stun for a little bit, so you get to dash in, and as you can see, just after this 1 2K 2D, dash in into some buttons, you're plus, you're in the opponent's face, and you're in the corner, and it's just a really, really good way that Testament, it's just completely Testament's turn. You can dash in, you can teleport, you can throw a crow, you can instant air dash, they can just do anything after the OTG, so I really recommend you go for that option sometimes. Also, if you don't even get the OTG, sometimes if you're not close enough, you won't get the OTG and you'll just get the charged fireball. That's good as well, it'll just be a little bit less damage, but most of the stuff still applies because it still hits really meaty. As you can see there, it's so meaty it actually combos into your instant air dash, jump H, and you can do this lovely stuff. I actually messed that up, but it's pretty cool, huh? Okay, and in the next option, you don't actually use any type of S Grave Reaper at all. We're actually going to use your H Grave Reaper, where it goes up into the air. And in some situations, like after 2K 2D, you don't really easily get a combo off of it. Maybe if you're really close, you might be able to get a 5K or something. But it's actually also really good as an OKI tool. So, often you're not going to be able to get a combo. So what a lot of people do is they just go for it and then dash in an instant air dash into a delayed jump H. You have to do the jump H like a little bit delayed. You can't just be mashing it, because then it'll just whiff awkwardly because the opponent's hitbox isn't actually there yet. So you just wait, and then la-di-da-do, Bob's your uncle, you're going to be getting some good pressure. And as the name suggests, this is indeed a safe jump. So if I get my lucky victim soul here to go for his very fast DP, I go for this instant air dash into my, make sure I do it delayed. I recover plenty in time to block and punish his DP with some lovely Testament combos. And this also applies, or you can also get a safe jump off of your throw, by the way, but it's obviously not using the H Grave Reaper. You just do kind of in the exact same way that Sin goes for his safe jumps. You can just do a micro dash, and it can actually be a little bit longer than micro, just depending on how close you want to get. So just do a bit of a dash into a jump H, and as long as you do it quick enough, it'll be an easy safe jump. The reason I like to go for jumps into safe jumps instead of instant air dashes is because if the opponent does block, then you do get some cool like pressure options, and I'm gonna have to make him stand as well, huh? Because you can go for like instant air dashes or jump cancels, or that kind of stuff after you get your jump in. And also Testament has the ability to go for his jump dust as well, so you can do jump... Oops. You can basically go do, and then dash cancel that into pressure like this. But you can do it all off of a safe jump off of your throw. And you can mix it up, whether you go jump H into jump dust or jump H straight into the air dash and then S into the dust. And then this just leads to a lot of mix up of like when you can hit the ground and go for a low or go for a throw or go for this. Just leads to a lot of pressure and honestly a lot of mix up that's pretty hard for the opponent to react to. So make sure you use it. And those are basically the only two main situations that Testament gets a safe jump, but it's really good to take notice. So after throw, safe jump, or after 2k 2d, and you get an H Grave Reaper, you can get a safe jump like that as well. And obviously, you'll beat the opponent trying to mash, and if they block, well then you get to go, 2k 2d, or go, close slash strings, build some risk, do whatever you like. And of course, you'll beat DPs. The next one's a little bit more situational and not as guaranteed, but I think it's also good to include. So in some situations where you get the meaty hit of your Grave Reaper, like there, after a throw, or also after a super, oops, you will get the meaty hit of your projectile. And most people, they either will run in afterwards or throw the crow to get a stain on. But you can also, what I like to do, is because you already have the succubus here, you can go for your meaty Grave Reaper hit into an Arbiter sign. So you can get overhead low mix that's really hard to react to, especially when it's being blocked after projectile. It's really hard to tell which one's lasting for longer. And it hits without a gap if it's a low one, with a gap if it's the high one. So it's hard for the opponent to avoid it. And it leaves a succubus on the screen. So you can go for the low and then go for your succubus and it throws it out at the nice... throws the crow out at the nice angle. Then the opponent is stained and you've hit them with an extra special move and they're pushed full screen. So whereas usually you would just get this, the opponent probably blocks it and now they're in stain state. Now you get some extra mix-up potential and you still get to throw out a crow with the succubus on the screen to put them into stain state. It's not a meaty crow, but it still has the succubus on the screen, so it has that nice angle. And I thought I would just include that because it's something that I find works really well, especially after supers when the opponent's oh crap, stuff's going really bad for me right now. And they're just okay, and then I block this, but then they get bonked by an overhead. And then all of that together, if the opponent is not regenerating, really adds up to so much damage. Oh, and if the crow hits, then they block the crow, you've done a ton of damage, and now they're in stain state. Now, basically, if you hit them, they're going to instantly die. So that's just a little note I thought I'd throw in. So after any kind of throw or any hard knockdown from a distance, just set up your meaty thing and then go for the mix-up and then use the succubus as either a teleport or a crow throw. Now the final one is one that I've actually been getting a little bit addicted to recently, and it's even better now that thanks to the 2H buffs that Testament just got in the recent patch. It was always an option that they could go for, but now it's even better thanks to the vacuum effect. So the option is, I think I forgot to mention, it's going for 2H as a meaty OKI tool. And it's really good for a bunch of reasons. Mainly, it's quite a disjoint, so Testament can go from it from quite a distance, and it can be a distance where the opponent's DP will not hit Testament. So you get to go for this really meaty combo starting heavy button. Unfortunately, it doesn't really start combos too easily, just raw, but when you hit it meaty, it's a lot easier too. And the opponent's DP will just completely whiff, so if I'll get to it. But after any kind of time you have a long knockdown, so say after your 2k 2d, you can just go for this. And because, as you can see, it hits meaty, it'll become plus on block, and it'll be easier to combo off of. And you can drop your combos, but as you can see, if I didn't drop that, that would have done a ton of damage. Now, let's get Sol to go for some options to show that this actually works. And oh yeah, the situations you can get this off of are obviously your 2k 2d, you just walk up, try and make sure you're not in throw distance, because even though it does hit Meaty, if you do accidentally mess it up, you might get thrown. And also if you're too close, the opponent can hit you with the DP. So where you can do this is after 2k2d, kind of just walk up till you're in a nice distance and then go for it. Also after throw, you can dash up, be at a nice distance, and then it's pretty easy to go. You just can kind of tell that you're in a nice range and then absolutely kill your opponent. And you can go for some crazy damaging combos. And also, not only after 2k2d, but also after 2k2d Grave Reaper. So if the opponent, is used to you keep going for these safe jumps, they're probably not going to be expecting this. It's just another really good OKI option. And if they mash, well then, they also really, really die. And if you're not beside the corner, then you get a nice long extended combo that'll do a lot more damage than these situations that are just breaking the wall instantly. You can even go for some more meterless loops, where you go for that kind of situation. They are all super damaging and super easy and super safe. So now we have Soul going for his Volcanic Viper, and I go 2k2d, Grave Reaper, dash up a little bit, and okay, maybe I did it a little bit too early there actually. As you can see, it'll either clash with it or completely whiff, just because it's not in range of actually Testament. If you do it too early, or you dash too close, you will get hit by it, but it can clash, or it will entirely whiff as long as the timing is correct. Both of them, you can get a lovely punish. Unfortunately, if they clash, they can probably do some weird air dash stuff, but it still works pretty well against DPs. Just time it correctly so it completely makes the DP whiff, if you want to be really safe. But this is just another super good option to put on top of Testament's arsenal of crazy tools that they can go for crazy pressure with. So now just to recap the main points of each of these OKI options. Going for 2k2d into regular Grave Reaper into Meaty Crow is your most damaging option and is a really guaranteed way of going into the Crow, and it puts the opponent completely full screen, so it's good for matchups where you want to try and zone the opponent out. Going for the Held Grave Reaper, where you get the OTG, allows for like a lot more options and a lot more mix-up and option select situations, so it's better for mix-up matchups where you want to kind of be closer to the opponent, because you can maybe teleport behind them to beat their DPs, or you can even combo off of the projectile when it hits. So it's just good for being close. You get to punish things, you get to just continue combos. It's great for everything, and you can even use this as a way of going into your Crow, and it leaves the opponent a bit closer, and it also will beat DPs depending on how you time it. And you can combo into this situation, and it's also just good if you want to just dash up, and you can go for buttons, or you can go for instant air dashes, so it allows for more mix-ups, more combos. It's basically the option if you like. It's honestly what I feel like is the best option. If you don't want to go for this thing, go for this, because you've got so many more things you can do off of it. It's so much more offensive and amazing. Next was going for safe jumps. So off of your throw, you can do a little bit of a dash into a jump, into a safe jump. If the opponent blocks, just because you didn't do an instant air dash, you can, you have an extra jumping action. So if they block it, you can go for an air dash or a jump cancel or any kind of juicy stuff after your jump H, jump D, whatever you like. And also you can do a safe jump after your 2k2d into H Grave Reaper. As you see there, you just do a little bit of a dash and just delay the jump H just a tiny bit after your instant air dash, and you get a lovely safe jump. And then also, if you're ever getting a really meaty hitting projectile, you always have the option of going for your Arbiter sign instead, to get a bit of a mix-up before you use the Succubus for a teleport or a Crow. And then the final option was to make sure you're using your 2H as a meaty OKI tool, because it has a lot of active frames, can be comboed off of, becomes plus on block if the opponent blocks it, which I don't think I actually showed. Oh, and I will not show because he's not blocking. But yeah, it's plus on block. You can do it after a Grave Reaper or after a throw. Or even just after a 2k2d if you do want to do something a little bit intimidating and different. But all in all, those are Testament's OKI options that I feel like are some of the best of their OKI options, and they are really, really powerful. So make sure you're mixing them up and not just going for the stock standard stuff that, although it's strong, it's predictable, and doing unique and weird stuff will always give you the upper hand in combat if the opponent doesn't know what they're about to be hit with. So make sure you switch it up and use some of these options, and let me know which ones work out the best for you. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye!